ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago and he spoke the Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion he gave is quite clear. For complete success in one's life, one needs to surrender to God and to love God. Still, not so many people could follow, even though the conclusion was this clear. Why is this? The answer is that humans, we need a living example to understand. We don't understand only through theories. We need also to see a practical living example of somebody who lives the knowledge, who lives the love. And Krishna, being the perfect teacher, the perfect pedagogue, he knows this. So he came 500 years ago in the disguise of a devotee. He came as a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga. So Lord Caitanya is actually Krishna in the mood of a devotee, and he came to teach the world the highest stages of Bhakti. This is called the Acharya principle. A great teacher who is teaching by example. And Mahaprabhu means that. Maha means a great, a big, Prabhu, master. So the greatest master, Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu is the greatest master of how to follow the Bhagavad Gita and to live its conclusion. The principle of having a living example is extra urgent and important in Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is the time period where we are living right now, and it's known to be the age of quarrel, confusion, hypocrisy, and it's an age where people are known to have less virtues in regards to other ages. Kali Yuga is said to have started 5,000 years ago, and it will continue for 427,000 more years. So it's quite a huge time period. And we're just in the beginning of it. In Kali Yuga, speaking is very cheap. Anybody can say anything, and anybody does say anything. Just look at the culture of social media. We have so many self-proclaimed masters in so many subjects. But in older ages, it was very important and considered a virtue to keep one's word. Even in my culture in Sweden, I remember having learned that it's important to keep your word, to be truthful, honest. And in older times, in the times of the Mahabharata, from our points of view, from this day and age, it seems almost absurd how important it was to keep one's word. So we need somebody who walks the talk, right? We need somebody who is practicing what they preach. How can we trust that person otherwise? Also, unless we see an example of a master, how can we know what is possible? Without a role model, how can we know what is possible? And how can we know the capacity of the process or the capacity of our own hearts? That is why Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is there, to give us this example of mastery of love of God. Now we're going to read from Bhagavad Gita the second time in this course. And we're going to read two famous verses about why Krishna descends on earth, why he comes down from the spiritual world on earth. And if you remember, we've just read before, when we were discussing the dating of the Bhagavad Gita from chapter 4, that Krishna says that he shares this knowledge again and again, and that he first, at the beginning of this universe, shared this knowledge with the sun god, Vivashvan. So we're going to continue and read the next coming verses when Krishna explains not only that he shares the knowledge over and over again, but he descends on earth over and over again. And this is what is called avatar. So avatar is not, me projecting myself into a computer game. That is like a distorted meaning of avatar. It's not the movie Avatar. Avatar always relates to God. It means God, when God comes down to earth. That is the original Sanskrit meaning of avatar. Okay, let's read now what Krishna says. It's Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 7 and verse 8. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavata bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam sriyamaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashajasya duskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. And the translation goes, whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and the predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. To deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So this is Krishna saying that whenever human society has gone off tracks and start to live in very confused cultures, Krishna comes to re-establish Dharma, the path of religion. So Dharma is a very deep concept. Prabhupada translated to religion, but actually it can sometimes be translated as duty or as morality. And one way I like to understand it very much, that my mentor in the temple often uses when he explains the concept or the reality of Dharma, is that Dharma is what harmonizes our true inner selves with the principles of the cosmos. So it's not something that is just put on us from outside. It's actually something that has to come from inside and match with the outside. It's a natural thing, Dharma. It's the essence of what works. So Krishna says he comes to establish the Dharma. And the Dharma of the soul is to love God. Spoiler alert. But the Dharma of the soul is to love God. Please remember that. And let's read now what Srila Prabhupada says about it, and we're going to discuss a little bit more. But remember these two terms, Dharma and Avatar. Okay, so we're reading a little bit from the purport to verse 7 in the 4th chapter. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear. In each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by that particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in form of his son or servant, or himself in some disguised form. And in the purport to verse 8, we can read the following. It's also just a snippet. The Lord says that he incarnates himself in every millennium. This indicates that he incarnates also in the age of Kali. That is Kali Yuga, the age of Kali. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the incarnation in the age of Kali is Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who spread the worship of Krishna by his Sankirtan movement, the congregational chanting of the holy names, and spread Krishna consciousness throughout India. He predicted that this culture of Sankirtan would be broadcast all over the world, from town to town and village to village. Lord Caitanya, as the incarnation of Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is described secretly but not directly in the confidential parts of the revealed scriptures, such as the Upanishads, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, The devotees of Lord Krishna are very much attracted by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Caitanya. This avatar of the Lord does not kill the miscreants, but delivers them by his causeless mercy. So every yuga, every time age has a specific avatar. This is called Yuga avatar. So in Kali Yuga, the avatar is Lord Caitanya. And he's also coming with the Yuga Dharma. So every time age has a specific spiritual practice that is activated during that era. And in Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma is Harinam Sankirtan, to meet congregationally and chant the names of God. So Lord Caitanya is the avatar of Krishna that comes with the Yuga Dharma. He's the Yuga avatar who comes with the Yuga Dharma. This is very important to understand. And it is said Krishna comes once in the day of Brahma, in Dwapar Yuga. So, and Lord Chaitanya always comes in Kali Yuga. So in each time is considered to be cyclical according to Vedic knowledge. So in each cycle there are 4 subdivisions. There is Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali Yuga. So when Krishna comes in Dwapar Yuga, always Lord Chaitanya comes. But the thing is, Krishna does not come every yuga. He comes once every 1,000 yuga. So he comes once in the day of Brahma. Brahma is the highest living being in this universe. He's the engineer of this universe. So his time is a little bit different from human time. So he lives in 100 years. In his calculation, it's not like our solar years. So a day of Brahma is called Kalpa. It spans over 4,320 million solar years. So Krishna comes one time in 4,320 million years. Let's read again what Srila Prabhupada says about this. So going back to the purport, to verse 7 in 4th chapter. And we're just going to read a little snippet. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of Dwapar Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulation, because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and disappearance of true religion. So there is a schedule how the Lord comes. However, being the master of any schedule, of any machinery, he comes by his own will. He's not forced to follow his own schedule. He's the creator of that schedule. Just as Krishna is the creator of the Vedas, he can also make the exceptions to the rule. So it's very rare, both that Krishna comes and that Lord Chaitanya comes. But at any time, in any yuga, some form of Krishna is coming. I mean, Krishna descends in some form. Lord Chaitanya is also known as the most generous and the most merciful form of the Lord. And he has come to give what no other avatar of Krishna has ever given. And that is free love of God. He gives prema bhakti, the highest form of love of God. Prema bhakti. So bhakti in general is love and devotion for God. And the highest stage is prema bhakti. That is the love that exists in the spiritual world. And Lord Caitanya comes to share with us the love that exists in the spiritual world. And he doesn't consider who is qualified or not. In other yugas, to perform yoga and to reach very elevated spiritual stages of consciousness, you had to be qualified. Sometimes you had to go through many, many lifetimes of yogic practice to become qualified to chant a certain mantra, for example. But when Lord Caitanya comes, he gives to everyone freely. And he says, you take this method, you take the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, you take the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, and then with it, you become purified and you qualify yourself. The only qualifications that is needed is that we realize that we don't have any qualification. We need to be humble, just to reciprocate with the enormous mercy that we are getting. Remember, in other ages, qualified yogis did not get this chance that we are getting by the mercy of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu. We can reach the highest spiritual perfection, which is also the highest satisfaction. And they say, Golokera Premadan, Harinama Sankirtan. So the method of Harinam Sankirtan is actually what is called not only a gift, but and not a donation. It's welfare. It's welfare from the spiritual world coming down to earth. Golokera Premadan, Harinama Sankirtan. So it's a love welfare gift. Premadan. Dan means like a donation, like a gift. So it's a gift, and we only have to accept it and realize we're not qualified. We just accept it thankfully, and we get a chance to reach the highest spiritual perfection through Lord Caitanya. And one thing that is also very ecstatic and fantastic about Lord Caitanya being the most merciful avatar of Krishna, as Krishna says, when he comes down, he comes to destroy the miscreants. That often means to kill the demons. But Lord Caitanya, he does not kill the demons by any weapon. He transforms the demons into lovers of God. And that is amazing. So Lord Caitanya also have a love army, and their weapon are not usual weapon, they're spiritual weapons. It's the weapon of chanting and dancing and playing to the names of God. If you have seen sometimes on the streets devotees of Krishna dancing and chanting in ecstasy and singing the holy names of God with their arms up like this, you know that they are followers of Lord Caitanya. They are out to spread the mercy of Lord Caitanya, because just by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the consciousness of the whole world is elevated, and if anybody who hears this get a blessing. So they're continuing to share the gift that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was giving. When he lived in India in the 15th century, he preached and he made a tour of South India, and people became mad with bhakti, like they mad with prema bhakti. They just, when he, walked through the villages, people just left everything and just followed him and danced and just came in full ecstasy. And sometimes full villages were just, destroyed because of the masses of people who just followed Lord Caitanya and danced. So he delivered many, many people in the 15th century in India and gave them the highest form of bhakti. But his prediction is that in the coming 10,000 years, there will be a high culture of bhakti on earth, and many, many souls from other planets will take birth on earth just to take part of this bhakti movement. 500 years after this, I'm sitting in remote Scandinavia, Sweden, and learning from Bhagavad Gita and chanting the names of Krishna. People are sitting in Africa, in South America, and Australia, doing it, in China. So the prediction has already started to come true. There's no continent where there are not persons who are practicing Bhakti Yoga and following the Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,